Rabbi Gorban, you've got the lead whenever you want.
Yes, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It is a relief this evening to join you all for Shabbat and to be able to take a breath after what has been a difficult week and after a difficult summer, moving into what will still be, for the most part, a difficult year. And sometimes we need Shabbat to just take in that breath and acknowledge that even with all of the challenges that surround us, we still have many gifts in the world, and it's important for us to just take that time and recognize those gifts as we move into the sacred space of Shabbat. We begin our service tonight with Achat Sha'alti, Psalm 27, or verse from Psalm 27, which is one of the Psalms that is, or the Psalm that is traditionally done during the month of Elul, the month leading up to Rosh Hashanah. Reminds us of the importance of finding our space in God's world, finding our space in the house of God.
One thing I ask of Adonai, only that do I seek, to live in the house of Adonai all the days of my life, to gaze upon the beauty of Adonai and to frequent God's temple. So join with me with this melody. Ya Elai Elai, 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 Ya Elai, Ya Elai, Achat sha'alti meit Adonai otavakesh. Achat sha'alti meit Adonai otavakesh. Shivti b'veit Adonai kol yemei chayai. Lachazot benoam benoam Adonai ulavaker bechalo. Lachazot benoam benoam Adonai ulavaker bechalo. So tonight, as we welcome Shabbat, we have another Shabbat bride and bridegroom from a number of years ago. We have with us Gary Nelson and Joanne Schwendinger, who are going to be celebrating their anniversary tomorrow and will lead us in candles and kiddush with Birkat Yeladim in between. I'll do that.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kinishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu b'ha'mitzvah shel Shabbat. Shabbat shalom.
That was lovely. thank you so much, and happy anniversary to you both.
Thank you.
See you but in the meantime, you guys can give each other a hug. My first anniversary being tomorrow, but also it reminds us, right? We have this next blessing, the Birkat Yeladim, which we reserve for children on Friday night, but really it's for all of us. Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Join me from home. Shalom, shalom. Yasem lecha shalom, shalom. Yasem lecha shalom. Shalom, shalom, yasem lecha shalom, shalom, yasem lecha shalom. And Gary and Joanne, please continue with Kiddush for us all.
Birkat Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pori hagafem. Birkat Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'rasavanu, v'shabbat kodsho v'yavad ratzon hinhilanu, zikaron l'maaseh b'reishit, kibu yom tehillah b'mikre kodesh, zecher l'siyah mitzrayim. Anu v'charta, Anu kidashka, Hohamim, Shabbat kodecha, Ava uratzon, Kinchopanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mikadesh HaShabbat. L'chaim.
Before we head into the main part of our service and welcome in Shabbat as angels and Shabbat as a bride or as a loving companion, I just want to invite everyone to take a moment to actually wish the people here around us a Shabbat Shalom. And so in a moment, I'm actually going to put you into breakout rooms if you are on the Zoom. If you are on our YouTube channel, then I will also encourage you to chat with either using the chat feature on YouTube or to talk to whomever is with you. There's a tradition in some of the camping circles that I've been in of doing what's called rose and thorn. So many people have Shabbat flowers on their tables or may have had Shabbat flowers on their tables before the pandemic kept people at home. What is the beautiful thing that has happened this week that you want to hold on to as you go into Shabbat? What is gracing your table? And what is a thorn that you are going to leave behind as we move into this sacred space? So if you are in the Zoom, here you go. And if you are on YouTube, feel free to use the chat. So it looks like everyone pretty much has left me and gone into their Zoom rooms, into their breakout rooms. So Yuval apparently has his thorn to share, right? Was that you didn't get food in exactly the time that you were expecting? Okay. I know for me that one of the thorns of the week has been noticing all of the violence that is continuing and the difference in how people are treated based on the color of their skin. Also had maybe some challenging nights with this one, but a blessing has definitely been, Rose has definitely been seeing his joy and his laughter, his many different facial expressions are just precious. It's been a lot of fun. Selma, hello, how are you? So I hope everyone has had a chance to share in their breakout rooms. We're going to bring them back in a second. There's a tradition of recognizing that there are angels all around us. But sometimes we have to just look to see who's right there, who serves as an angel in our lives. Someone to guide us, someone to protect us, someone just to show us that God is present around us. And we think of these angels, especially on Shabbat, with the words of Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyonim, Melech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom
Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. 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 לקראת שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, ישמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשמו תפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה, בראש מקדם משוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. תתעוררי, כי בהורק ומהורי, אורי, שיר הברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. If you want to rise and face your entrance, you may join me. Bo'ui v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'b'tohala, toch emunei am segula. Bo'ui chala, lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. So as we transition to Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, the psalm for Shabbat, I want you to remember, especially those of you I can see here on Zoom, I can see you and I hope you're all singing. For any native Pittsburgher, you may remember growing up here in the show Ricky and Copper, or maybe it was Paul Shannon's Adventure Time, but it was one of those shows where they said, I can see you and I can see everybody who's here. And I thank you all, from all of us, for being in our homes. And when we see you singing, even if we can't hear you, we know that we're together. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, Tov L'hodot L'Adonai, Uzamer L'Shimcha Elyon, Le'hagid b'boker chastecha, Ve'emunacha b'alelot, Ale Asor v'ale Navel, Ale Higayon Bechinor, Lehagid b'boker chastecha, Ve'emunacha b'alelot, Ale Asor v'ale Navel, Ale Higayon Bechinor. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, Tov L'hodot L'Adonai, Uzamer L'Shimcha Elyon, Lehagid b'boker chastecha, Ve'emunacha b'alelot, Ale Asor v'ale Navel, Ale Higayon Bechinor, Le'hagid b'boker chastecha, Ve'emunacha b'alelot, Ale Asor v'ale Navel, Ale Higayon Bechinor. care to join me, you may. In rising for the Chatzi Kaddish, which will lead us into the Baruch Hu, beginning the core part of our service for this evening. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah v'yalemad yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon u'chai l'chol beit Yisrael bagala u'bizman kariv yimeru amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam le'almei almaya yiparach. Yiparach v'shabach v'yipar v'yitromam v'yidaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei Rekudesha B'richu li'ela min kol barchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran b'yalma v'imeru amen. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. May I have a seat?
Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way in which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim.
So try this melody with me. It was written by Linda Hirschhorn, as some of you may recognize. Try it again. And we're going to put it to these words, Ki heim chayenu ve'orach yameinu uvehem negeh yomam v'layla. So you may recognize those words, and we'll get them up on the screen soon. For they are the lives and the length of our days, and upon them we will ponder day and night. And so that's talking about, it's introducing the words of Shema, which will come next. And it puts us in that place of remembering the importance of these guideposts for our lives. You can sing I won't know the difference, or you could join me with the words. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem negeh yomam v'layla. Do it again. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem negeh yomam v'layla. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. continue. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אמת.
Love God with everything you have, your heart, your soul, your strength. These words which I give you, hear now, take them to heart. Teach them to those who follow you. Speak of them often, at home, at work, and on the road, at the beginning of your day and at its end. Hold them like a sacred chant that whispers inside you, spilling out into song. Feel the words in your fingertips and let them guide your vision to rest in new places.
I'm going to do this one a cappella, so join in. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Let's do it again. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot osefele. One more time. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב גואלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
I think Yuval has already fallen asleep, but we offer this blessing of protection through the night and mash it up with words from Matisyahu, hoping for better times for all of us. Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu v'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu v'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. So now you're gonna sing. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. Sometimes I lay under the moon and thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray, don't take me soon, 'cause I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more wars and our children will play. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, Treat people the same. Stop with the violence, down with the hate. One day we'll all be free and proud to be under the same song, singing songs of freedom like one day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom leHamidenu Shomreinu leChaim. Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom leHamidenu Shomreinu leChaim. Baruch Atah Adonai Haparis Sukat Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Amo Yisrael Ve'al Yerushalayim. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et haShabbat La'asot et haShabbat B'dorotam Be'erit olam Beini u'bein b'nei Yisrael Oti le'olam Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim et haaretz u'bayom hashvi'i Shabbat, Shabbat, va'inafash Shabbat, Shabbat, va'inafash Shabbat, Shabbat, va'inafash.
If you're comfortable doing so, we're preparing for the Amidah. So you may please rise, or if you would prefer to stay in your seat, of course, that's always, we want you to be comfortable. Adonai, Sifatai Tiftach, Ufi Agid, Tehilatecha, Adonai, Sifatai Tiftach, Ufi Agid, Tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר מושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, וחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידה מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. May be seated.
We join together in this blessing for Shabbat and a reminder that as much as we need the peace of Shabbat as a break from what's going on in the world, we also can't let Shabbat hide us away from what is going on in the world. So we say, disturb us, Adonai, ruffle us from our complacency, make us dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, the quietude which arises from a shunning of the horror, the defeat, the bitterness, and the poverty, physical and spiritual, of humans. Shock us, Adonai, deny to us the false Shabbat which gives us the delusions of satisfaction amid a world of war and hatred. Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears. Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of the living, and the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
On this Shabbat day, as you graciously receive our prayers, help us to hear your call. Grant us enough health to fulfill our duties and the compassion we need to attend to ourselves. Teach us humility that we may perceive our own faults, and grant us the wisdom to be forgiving of others. Give us the courage to be true to our highest selves and the charity to see the best that is in those around us. Give us patience enough not to become discouraged, hope enough to overcome all fears for the future, and faith enough to know your presence. O source of blessing, look with favor upon us. May our offerings be acceptable to you. We praise you, Adonai, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai she'otecha levadecha v'yira na'avod. For the good in us which calls us to a better life we give thanks. For the strength to improve the world with our hearts and hands we offer praise. For the desire in us which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful. For life and nature, harmony and beauty, the hope of tomorrow, all praise to the source of being. Baruch atah Adonai, Atov Shimcha L'cha Ne'eh L'hodot.
The last line in this is B'chol eit u'v'chol sha'ah bishlomecha, in every time and in every hour with your peace. So we can meditate on that a little as we sing. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol eit u'b'chol sha'ah bishlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. We invite you now to offer the prayers of your own hearts in your own way. A prayer we all share is the following. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. We need more of that. Let's do it again. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Another prayer that we all share. We're reminded how our prayers remind us or bring us all together, because we may be thinking of different people and we may be thinking of different situations, but we all know someone right now, or many people right now, who are in need of extra healing. And so hold them close to your hearts, put them in your prayers, and send them your Mishaberach. Mishaberach avotenu, Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. You can add them to the chat, as many people have done already. Mishaberach imotenu, Mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
The year was 586 BCE. The Jewish people faced catastrophe. Of the 12 tribes that left Egypt, 10 had been conquered by Assyria and disappeared. Now Babylon had sacked Jerusalem, destroyed the leaders, destroyed the temple, and took the leaders into exile. Why did this happen? Did God desert the people? The prophets consoled our ancestors. They said, this happened because of rampant corruption, but God was with them anywhere in the world. 50 years later, in 536, they're able to return and rebuild the temple. But calamity came again. In the year 70, the people had been in the land for centuries, but now the temple was going to fall. Under Alexander the Great and his armies, the land was subjugated. Now Rome came and ruled the promised land. In 70, there was a rebellion. Jerusalem was razed and the second temple was destroyed. Again, the people asked, how could God let this happen? This time, the rabbi spoke. The reason was not corruption. It was sinat chinam, baseless hate. God allowed calamity because the nation was at war with itself. This was a week of heartbreak. With the many crises that we see, COVID-19, the need for racial justice, inequality in our world, we were shocked by the shooting of Jacob Blake, a man shot 7 times in the back, shot 7 times by a police officer. This was horrendous. We grieve for him and his family. It again makes us confront the reality at the heart of Black Lives Matter. But the sin was magnified by Kyle Rittenhouse, a 17-year-old who saw himself doing the work of a militia when he murdered Anthony Eber and Joseph Rosenbaum and wounded 1 other. This was not an action in the heat of the moment, a mistake of exigent circumstances. Here was a young man radicalized by the extremism we see all around us. He made himself the law. It stands as a result of the culture that perverts individual liberty and freedom. The scenes that we've seen week after week with protesters at state capitals as they demonstrate throughout the country has led to this tragic result. The glorification of this ideal was on full display when Mark and Patricia McCloskey, the husband and wife who brandished weapons at protesters in St. Louis, spoke at the Republican convention. Instead of condemning their actions, they were given a platform to preach fear. I thought it was important when I knew about this to watch what they said. I was sickened. It glorified a world where the rule of law is replaced by sinat chinam, baseless hate. In the face of this perversion, I want to share with you an alternate vision of the world, a vision exemplified by 2 extraordinary rabbis, Rabbi Susan Talvey and Rabbi Dina Feingold. Rabbi Gibson and I were in rabbinic school with both of them when we were in Cincinnati. Rabbi Talvey serves Central Reform Congregation in St. Louis. Believe it or not, this synagogue is right next to the home of Mark and Patricia McCloskey. As Rabbi Gibson is known in Pittsburgh for social justice, so has Rabbi Talvey for years been the voice of peace and justice in St. Louis. When Michael Brown was killed in Ferguson in 2014, was Rabbi Talvi and members of her congregation who stood with the Black community. Other rabbis who were out in the suburbs called and said, "What could we do?" The leaders of the Black community said, "You haven't been with us before now. Wait until this is passed." I went to Ferguson. I was in a demonstration when clergy were asked to come into town. And Rabbi Talvi spoke about being an ally. This week, Rabbi Talvi wrote an article about the McCluskeys. She told of when the McCluskeys destroyed beehives the temple created to provide honey for the new year. By mistake, they were set 6 feet into the McCluskeys' property. Instead of talking about the problem, they acted with vindictive violence. They destroyed the beehives. She concluded with these words: "Their values are those that sow hate among people. They stand for a kind of white supremacy. Our resistance to it is to love each other." Rabbi Dina Feingold has served Temple Beth Hillel in Kenosha for 36 years. Thought Rabbi Gibson served for a long time. The driveway of the synagogue was vandalized during the protests this week. And Rabbi Feingold's story was in the forward, the national Jewish newspaper. For more than 15 years, she's been working on racism in Kenosha. She's volunteered to help in the public schools. And she's now involved with the Kenosha Coalition for Dismantling Racism. On Monday night, Rabbi Feingold was scheduled to be part of a press conference to help diffuse the violence. The violence, though, was only getting worse, and the conference was canceled. The violence moved to other parts of the city. Rabbi Feingold said, "I think the bigger issue is more important than possible damage that our building might occur." She continued with these words: "How do you bring about change? Because it has to do with systemic racism. It has to do with implicit bias, with major institutions in our society and how they operate." Rabbi Talvi and Rabbi Feingold affirm the voices of justice, of goodness, of peace, and of love. And that's the way to counteract the extremism that we're seeing in the world. That which allows a young person to take a gun and think of himself as part of a militia. That's the challenge we have, to bring goodness and kindness to all people. That we're called to look upon ourselves. When we were in Ferguson, a story was told that there was a standoff between police and between protesters. And one of the women, who was white, walked to the police and was able to diffuse things. When she came back, one of the Black women said, "That's what white privilege is. If I had done that, the situation wouldn't have been diffused." And so, on this Shabbat, our charge is to affirm the words of the prophet Micah. What does the eternal God call you to do? To do justly, to love chesed, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. Shabbat Shalom. Announcements. Our musical program is supported by a generous grant by Edgar Snyder. Torah study begins at 8:30 tomorrow, and the informal Shabbat minyan begins at 9:15. Italian cooking class from Milan, Italy is great. Sunday, August 30th at 12:30. Register to receive a Zoom link and ingredient list. This Monday, our last session of Judaism in the 21st Century with Rabbi Sid Schwartz. One of his books is called Jewish Megatrends, talks about the great creativity in the Jewish world today. Our Parashah class is Wednesday at noon. Cook along with Kate Passarelli, 6:30 on Wednesday, and register to receive a Zoom link and a writing workshop with Mimi Botkin. The Civic Engagement Group of the Tikkun Olam Center is organizing a Get Out the Vote campaign for Temple Sinai. The next few weeks, you'll receive an email from the Tikkun Olam Vote 2020, talking about registering and voting in November. I got my license and I registered this week. Yay! It was so easy. Shabbat Shalom.
Please rise if you are able for Aleinu. I know Rabbi Crystal's enthusiasm makes us all want to rise. Just one moment. I think we know how to begin together, so. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל עמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. May I have a seat. On this Shabbat, we remember cherished names from our congregation. Abe Ainsman, Gerald L. Block, Gerald Brostoff, Samuel Chesler and Bernice K. Curtis, Bevel Davidson, Hyman Ebenstein, Rena Edelstone and Larry Eisengart, Ethel Eisner, Jack Fox, Alan Gerson, Sanford Hafner, Dorothy Jacobson, George Keller, William Daniel Cundin, Helen Lear, William LeWinter, Lloyd Livestone, Helen K. Michael, Ann Kit Minden, Lawrence Edward Monaco, the Honorable Robert E. O'Connor Jr., Louis Olitsky, Theodore Patz, Rebecca Podrat, Eleanor G. Polechko, Janet Schlesinger, Irene Schwartz and Isidore Schwartz, Saul Shapira, Michael Simon, Anna Smith, Ellie Spokane, William Stoffman, and Louis Walker. I apologize if I mispronounced any names. We also remember those who have recently departed our midst. Mark Silberman, nephew of Myrna Stein, Debbie Levenstein, cousin of Barbara Gibson, Joan Shapiro, Herb Goldstein, husband of Marlene Goldstein, David Green, brother of Alan Green, David Howard Weiss, husband of Edris Weiss, Violet R. London Marcus, mother of Harold Marcus, grandmother of Amy Siegel and Josh Marcus, and grandmother of Morgan Siegel, Edna Brahm, mother of Louis Brahm, and Debbie Minden, sister of John Minden. If you have other names, you can hold them dear in your hearts or put them in the chat. And please join me in the words of the Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divarach yirutei, ve'yamlich malchutei, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Even with all of the challenges in the world, we look for the angels around us and for God's presence around us. And so we'll begin. The words all around us is Shekhinah. All around us is Shekhinah. All around us is Shekhinah. Try that. All around us is Shekhinah. All around us is Shekhinah. So we think of the angels that tradition says are on our right, on our left, before us, and behind us. May our right hand bring us closer to our godliness. May our left hand give us strength to face each day. And before us may our visions light our paths ahead. And behind us may well-being heal our way. All around us is Shekhinah. 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 Once again, join me in the verse. May our right hand bring us closer to our godliness. May our left hand give us strength to face each day. And before us may our visions light our paths ahead. And behind us may well-being heal our way. All around us. All around us is Shekhinah. All around us is Shekhinah. All around us is Shekhinah. All around us is Shekhinah.
May the Eternal One, who brings peace to the high heavens, bring peace to Israel, to all humanity, to all of us. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.